What's up, family? How are you doing today? We need to go ahead and talk about what we can expect to see and to receive sometime this year. We are talking about taxes for millions of Americans out there. And yes, guys, this also comes on the heels of having a 2024 presidential election coming sometime around November. But anyways, go ahead and start this video off with we are about to expect a huge heat wave moving across the United States. Now, this is very shocking considering that we have pretty much been dealing with the major thunderstorms as well as tornadoes over the last 3 to 4 weeks or so, and now things are switching from thunderstorms to the potential of smashing records of a heat wave. Well, in fact, that is exactly what we can expect on our radar. Take a look at this particular article right here where it says that scorching heat wave is set to smash records across the U.S. Southwest area. And if you look at this particular map, you can see that, yes, pretty much all of this is in red. Yes, the hottest temperatures to hit the U.S. West this year were sweeping across California and the Southwest on Wednesday, and they're expected to bring record temperatures to much of the region before eastwards later on this week. Now, looking at the bigger picture, excessive heat warnings and watches extended from the Central Valley down through Southern California deserts, Southern Nevada, and Southern and Western Arizona, affecting over 31.7 million people just on Wednesday evening after the heat began building a day earlier on. But anyways, we are at risk of this particular heat wave. So we are seeing weather conditions later on next week, such as in Las Vegas, where temperatures are expected to be around 107 to 109. And then California has already been dealing with this. So it is definitely moving across the United States. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to give you that shift in regards to this particular weather, and just be mindful of this as we get a little bit of a break from the tornadoes and the thunderstorms in the surrounding areas. You do want to be mindful of that. So anyways, I feel like a news person just giving that information, but it does affect me because a few of my houses have been hit with the recent storm. So I am definitely feeling a little bit discouraged in regards to the recent thunderstorm. So that is why I'm speaking of it today. But anyways, moving on, guys, we also have some good news right here. We haven't seen this pretty much all year, which we were expecting to hear this type of information coming directly from the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, in which we were all expecting, I'm sure you guys are included, we were expecting the Fed Chairman to lower the interest rates. But unfortunately, that has not happened because of the high inflation continues to stay above the threshold in which the Feds want to see that drop down a little bit lower. But anyways, Canada, out of all countries, has decided to be the first nation to lower or cut their interest rates. Yes, you can see in this particular article that came out yesterday that Canada becomes the first G7 nation to cut interest rates. The Bank of Canada trimmed its key policy rate on Wednesday, which is the first G7 country to do so, in a widely expected move that will ease some of the pressure on highly indebted consumers, but indicated that further easing will be a gradual and dependent on the data that they receive. He said in a statement from the governor that let's just enjoy the moment just for a little bit. Yes, the governor Tim Macklem said this in a press conference after the meeting of the central banks reducing the interest rates from 5% down to 4.7%. So yes, they ended up dropping it by 1/4 of a percentage point. Yes, this is the first cut in over 4 years. Just to remind you guys, the pandemic happened over 4 years. So anyways, this is the first. So will the United States follow suit, follow Canada in this particular effort to lower the interest rates, or will the Fed Chairman continue to say that we don't know if we're going to happen this year in 2024? We'll just have to find out. But kudos to Canada for getting just a little bit of relief in regards to the interest rates, which means that people, banks, they can borrow money at a lower cost. So that is definitely helpful. But But on the flip side of borrowing money, let's go ahead and talk about this particular subject right here, because this might actually affect you or someone you know, depending on where you live and where you actually keep some of your money at. We are talking about the United States banks in the United States, U.S. banks, guys. Yes, we have this recent report that came out on Business Insider, which talked about this particular survey in which they found that about 63 U.S. banks are on the brink of insolvency. You guys remember the previous banks that ended up failing altogether, which pretty much all those individuals ended up losing their money, in which they had to lean towards FDIC to get their money back, because obviously their money was insured, holding it at a bank. But anyways, guys, it was not over. That was not the last that we have seen of these particular banks collapsing. This particular report says that 63 more banks are on the verge of doing the same thing as well. Yes, this is rather scary, guys. We talked about this on a couple of videos ago, in which you need to be aware of where you keep your money, what bank you actually bank at, because you want to make sure that, number one, your money is FDIC insured. You definitely want to verify and validate that information. Just don't go by he say, she say. That is going to protect you where your money is and protect your money or your family's money. So anyways, you definitely want to do that, but also pay attention to that particular bank, what they're going through. Look online, look up information in regards to potential banks running into the problem of being insolvent this year. Apparently, guys, we are going to see more banks failing and collapsing sometime this year. We don't necessarily know when, guys, because we all know that when it happens and it brings devastation. But anyways, in regards to this particular report, yes, there are some banks out there, 63 banks that have been reviewed and are saying that these banks are not necessarily safe at the moment, because they are highly rated for collapsing. But it does say that at least 63 U.S. banks were on the brink of insolvency in the first quarter of 2024, which is up from the previous number of 52 banks. Yes, they are calling this the problem bank list, which was reported last year in the third quarter of 2023. But anyways, this information was done, a quarterly report by the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, in which they published this article on May the 29th. Now, you can always go out there and look for this particular article yourself. Don't lean on me. But anyways, it says that moreover, the banks are collectively sitting on $517 billion worth of unrealized losses, which is up from $39 billion from the previous quarter. This marks the 9th consecutive month of unusually high unrealized losses. One particular thing that comes to mind is the unrealized losses in regards to commercial real estate. We all know that since the pandemic, a lot of people have not been going into the office, have not been going into work. They've pretty much been working from home. So a lot of real estate is not being used at this particular time, which means a lot of people are not even paying their bills on real estate as well. So anyways, that is just one example of these unrealized losses. And all of these could come down and pretty much make or break a bank sometime this year. This is definitely scary, guys. I'm scared. I hope you guys are scared, which means that if you are scared, you're going to do something about it. You're going to verify that your bank is FDIC insured. Or if you are a little bit nervous about working with your small bank, go ahead and switch banks, guys. It is super easy to move your money from bank A to bank B. But anyways, guys, do not ignore this information. 63 banks are on this list by the FDIC, their quarterly report that came out on May the 29th. Don't sleep on this, guys. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, which is taxes. We all know about this, considering that we are in the middle of an election year, and we all know that this is one of the hottest topics that is brought up on the campaign trail, and this is coming from multiple potential presidents that is trying to run. But anyways, specifically in regards to President Biden, we all know that he has pledged the idea of increasing taxes for the rich and wealthy and keeping the taxes for those people making less than $400,000 per year, keeping those taxes unchanged. But anyways, I do have a little bit of information that is going to change your mind just a little bit, and you need to be aware of this because, yes, that is President Biden's plan. However, if he goes through and does what he wants to do, your taxes are still going to go up. Yes, there is a little bit of controversy in regards to President Biden's plan, and everything that he plans on doing. But anyways, it does say right here that $7 trillion in new revenue is needed simply to stabilize the national debt in this country. And President Joe Biden often refers his humble upbringing, and for decades he has referred to himself as Middle Class Joe, to emphasize his commitment to Americans of average means. It's in the spirit that the president pledged to not raise taxes on Americans making less than $400,000 per year, a group that makes up 98% of the U.S. population. But experts say that maintaining his pledge will require Biden to abandon his plans for new spending, and that raises taxes on the wealthy to historic highs, which would simply allow for funding of Social Security and Medicare benefits at the current levels. Now, according to the policy analyst Ben Ritz, he is saying that it's very debatable at this time whether it's mathematically possible to shore up those programs without raising any taxes on Americans making less than $400,000 per year, which he's basically saying that, yes, President Biden's plan does sound good on paper. However, he does see it could be very, very impossible not to raise taxes in regards to what Biden and the Biden administration plans on doing. He said in a statement that, look, you not just be testing the limits of political feasibility, but there's also only so much money out there to actually tax people on. Much of the money earned by individuals above $400,000 threshold is already taxed in high rates at more than 50% in California, with other jurisdictions like Hawaii, New Jersey, and New York not far behind California. So anyways, the recent Progressive Policy Institute analysis says that there is about $3 trillion in available taxable income consistent with President Biden's $400,000 pledge, but that potentially only half of that could ever be effectively collected by the federal government. And according to Penn Wharton budget model, the president's budget would generate $3.6 trillion over the next 10 years with new taxes on income, investments, and bequests for individuals earning more than $400,000 per year. Now, that amount of new revenue would not only be able to fully fund Social Security, which is a good thing, the entitlement program, which we all know that's facing insolvency within the next 9 to 10 years or so. It would also bring in new revenue for the Medicare as well as Medicaid liabilities, let alone fund priorities like expanding the child tax credit. You guys love the child tax credit, right? And making more generous healthcare subsidies permanently. But anyways, saying in a statement from the interview that was on Market Watch, saying that, look, it wouldn't even be close. We'd need much more substantial reform to put these programs on a permanent path towards solvency. So yes, guys, what they're saying here is that Biden has a good plan on face value, talking about that he won't raise taxes for people that make more than $400,000 per year. Yes, that sounds good in theory. However, in order to do that, you're going to have to tax somewhere else. Number one, taxing the wealthy and the rich, those individuals that make more than that, which is going to put them in a bind, which is going to trickle down to the individuals that make less than $400,000 per year, which is going to cost them more money as well, not necessarily on the verge of taxes, but on the verge of them having to spend a little bit more, because let's face it, the wealthy and the rich, they are not going to lose out. They are just going to pass it down to the consumers. But anyways, that is one particular way. And then the other thing that they didn't necessarily talk about in this particular article is that President Biden also wants to remove the former President Trump's tax cuts. And that right there is going to cause individuals to pay more in taxes, because some of those Trump tax cuts that he implemented when he was the president, they are actually helping those individuals that make less than $400,000 per year. So, and I just wanted to bring that information to you just so that you would know. And I even went ahead, stepped, and found a particular article right here that talks about the Trump tax law, which was one of the biggest middle-class tax cuts in U.S. history. The Trump Treasury Department calculated that the average family of 4 saves roughly $2,000 per year. And so if Biden removes this particular Trump tax cut, that is going to make their taxes go up again, $2,000 per year. That is just one thing right there. Another thing is that the Trump tax cuts vastly simplify the tax code for the majority of Americans. A major feature of the bill was to double the standard deduction from $12,500 to $25,000. As a result, prior to the Trump tax cuts, only about 1/3 of tax filers had to itemize their deductions and keep track of the IRS information and the receipts and the transactions. But with the Trump tax cut, he just made it very simple, basically saying that the standard deduction used to be $12,000. We are going to bump that up by doubling it, which means that now individuals and low-income Americans, or necessarily those individuals that make less than $400,000 per year, were able to get a new standard deduction of $25,000 per year. So that was an increase to Americans that made less than $400,000 per year. But if Biden does what he says he'll do, he's going to remove this Trump tax cut, which means that you're probably going to go back to the lower standard deduction, which means that you'll have to pay more money in regards to taxes. And anyways, that is just a couple of things right there. I won't necessarily go into this full article, but I just wanted to go ahead and paint a picture of why our taxes could or expected to go up sometime this year. Now, this is all considering that President Biden is successful in doing what he plans to do in regards to only raising taxes for those individuals that make more than $400,000 per year, being able to roll back the Trump tax cuts, as well as if he is the next president or elected to be the next president of the United States. So a lot of things are in limbo right now. We don't necessarily know if Biden is going to be able to do this before the end of the year, but I just wanted to go ahead and put it out there just in case. You need to be mindful of this because President Biden is trying to get it done before election season. So anyways, guys, take that with a grain of salt. What do you think about this? Does this affect you? Does it affect someone you know? Multiple things or stories in this particular video, and I would love to get your thoughts on this. So if you get an opportunity, please comment down below, as well as hit that like button because it really helps out this video. And as always, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you. Outside of all that, I will see you on the next video.